Let's take a look at the big conference championship games with playoff implications. The lowest spread, the closest spread, I should say, Utah -6.5 against Oregon. That game Friday night, the Pac-12 Championship game. The largest spread, Clemson -28.5 against Virginia. That line actually opened at 21.5. It has moved 7 points. So let's break them all down with the exception of the SEC Championship game, which we saved for its very own segment on Wednesday. We've got Chip Patterson from the Cover 3 podcast and Brady Quinn from so many things I can't even name them all in one segment here. Let's begin on Friday night, Pac-12 Championship game. Chip, I'll start with you on this one. Utah, the only chance to make the college football playoff. They've got a matchup with Oregon in a pretty tight spread at 6.5, the closest of all the conference championship games that matter to the playoff.
Yeah, this is going to really come down, in my mind, to Utah's defense and its ability to stop the run for Oregon. Because while Utah has been an elite run defense throughout much of the season, they haven't faced anybody that has an offensive line that is built like Oregon's. You know, an Oregon offensive line that wants to bring the fight, bring the physicality, pave down, get a little bit of push. I just think that that is one spot where if Oregon's going to have an advantage in this game, if Oregon's going to have a chance to keep this close, it might be with that. Because as I look at, the other side of the ball, I do think that Oregon's defense is really, really good. And I think that this game's going to be really low scoring. But if Utah is going to be able to hang on in this game, I think that they've got to make Justin Herbert beat them. And it's weird to say that because Justin Herbert is an NFL draft-type talent and an NFL draft-type name. But to me, if Oregon runs the ball effectively against this Utah defense, Oregon's going to have a great chance to win. If Utah stops the run on early downs, forces Justin Herbert and Oregon to beat them in the passing game, I think that this is advantage Utah. I definitely lean Tyler Huntley in the quarterback matchup, and I definitely lean points in terms of taking them with Oregon. But my number one play in this game is going to be on that under, baby. Unders in the 40s if you're dirty, and we're going to be taking it in the Pac-12 Championship game.
Chip is dirty.
Chip, to your point, two offenses that I think have shown at times some inconsistency, and it's going to be a battle of the line of scrimmage. And really the key to watch is that front seven for Utah, which head coach Kyle Whittingham says is the best he's ever had while coaching Utah, going up against that offensive line, 4 of the 5. Really everyone returning as starters up front for them. Penei Sewell is the only one that's not draft eligible, their left tackle, and he's probably the best one. So if you want to check out a matchup to watch throughout the course of the game, Bradley Anae versus Penei Sewell, that edge rusher Anae going against that left tackle. But you're right, this is going to be about whether or not Utah can put this game on Justin Herbert's shoulders, because they typically play a lot of post-high safety defense, meaning they put that extra defender in the box to stop the run and force one-on-one coverage on the outside. So Jalen Redd, Juwan Johnson, those guys are going to have to come up making some big plays on the outside in the passing game. And I think for Justin Herbert this year, he's put up some good stats, but at times he's just been consistent. So this is a matchup where I think if you want to be that first-round pick, that top 10 pick that everyone says you are, he really needs to show out. He needs to lead his team, and he needs to take off and run the football. He's a really good athlete when he gets loose and when he decides to run. That needs to be part of this rushing attack, I think, for Oregon in order for it to open up that Utah defense. But in this matchup, something tells me Oregon may keep this one a lot closer than people think. I think if you're going to lay 6.5 points, low-scoring, tight game, you go ahead and play Oregon in the 6.5.
And again, that's a Friday night game, so the teams in the Big 12 are going to know exactly what's out in front of them. If it's Oregon that wins, and they're going to be rooting for Oregon to knock off Utah and get them out of the picture. But if Utah wins, those Big 12 teams are going to know that they might need to win and win big for style points to have a chance to get in there.
Championship weekend kicks off Friday night. Oregon and Utah clashing the Pac-12 title game. The Utes are a 6.5-point favorite. The only hope for the Pac-12 to have its second representative in the short history of the college football playoff. Barton, we know Utah needs some help. Do they also need to win the Pac-12 championship in style?
Well, look, I think they just need to win because ultimately, look, I expect LSU to beat Georgia. That's the help you refer to. But I also think when you look at where Utah is ranked, where the Big 12 teams are ranked, and this Oregon team still being a highly respected group by the College Football Playoff Committee, is Utah really in danger of getting jumped if it just beats a really good opponent? And the committee has said for a while now that Utah is better than the Big 12 alternative. So I think Utah goes into this game just trying to get out alive, trying to get out with a win. And for that reason, frankly, and when you look at the matchup here, this is kind of an SEC matchup. It's a huge offensive line for Oregon against this really talented defensive front for Utah. It's a Utah team that wants to run the football and play with an efficient quarterback. It's an Oregon team that really wants to do the same, frankly, less physical in the run game from the backfield, but not exactly the high-powered spread offense we're used to in the Chip Kelly years. So I think this game actually kind of grinds it out a little bit. I'm on the under here. I think Utah wins. I think it's a close game, but I don't think it's going to be very high scoring.
Barton, my man, I'm so proud of you. It makes my heart soar to hear you talking about those unders. Yes, we've got a championship game under. Yes, we've got a gross weather under. Now, we're going to have to check with Tom Fornelli to see if it's going to be a wonder, but I've been looking at the way it's going to be in Santa Clara. Not great football weather, messy, grinding, two great defenses, two teams that both want to run the ball. Yeah, we are going under with this one. And if you want to take Oregon, it is with the idea that this really might be a 17-13, 21-18 type game, and you're just buying up the points with the underdog. But the safe play is going to be on the under because that's what it's going to be. Not the high-flying Pac-12 that you think of when you're thinking about Pac-12 After Dark. This is going to be a game that is decided in the trenches. It goes under the total.
Wow. Tom Fornelli would be proud as well. The wonder. That's pretty, that's gutsy right there. All right, here's a look at the recap. Choosing champs, lock agreement, LSU. Lock agreement, Ohio State. They're split on Oklahoma, Baylor, agree on Clemson, and they're both on the under in the Pac-12 Championship Friday night, Utah and Oregon. Hey, you want more of the Cover 3 podcast? And the guys, check it out. Perfect call for any diehard college football fan. Chip, Barton, take you from National Signing Day, the National Championship, in-depth analysis, picks. Download and subscribe wherever you download your podcast. You can also get it on the CBS Sports app. Cover 3 podcast. Go get you some.